You want to talk about the Second Amendment? Now that we're done with the comment section, let's jump into that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We did the First Amendment last week, and that's where we got all these comments. We're going to go into the Second Amendment. I think this is going to be a fairly short comment.
Sure.
Not comment, sorry. Fairly short part of it. Give me just one moment here. I'm going to read it verbatim. Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So depending on how you want to read that, plain and simple, we as a nation have the right to defend ourselves and bear arms. I know people are probably going to make comments about the guns of the revolution versus the guns we have now.
The Second Amendment conversation is what the Second Amendment is why I get considered a right winger. Like I am bold.
Well, so here's the thing:
Amendment.
the most important amendment. It is amazing how the Bill of Rights is written. The most important amendment is the first, and the only thing that protects the first is the second.
Yes, I agree entirely. And the argument of the weapons being the only weapons we're allowed to use are the ones from the time that it was written is so patently absurd, because then that would apply to every amendment inside of the Constitution that you're a victim to whatever the technology was at the time. And the Second Amendment wasn't written for that. It was meant to give us a prescription of defense against a tyrannical government and to defend ourselves against domestic and foreign threats. You cannot do that by not keeping current with current technologies. So I think that is just ridiculous.
I am not going against a Marine who's going to be carrying Desert Eagle 9mm or AK Uzi. I don't care what they're using, but I'm not going to be going against them with a musket with a range of
about 10
what was
yards.
It like 20 yards as a sniper.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I'm not doing that. No, we're not defending freedom of speech with give me just a moment. Gotta pack in the gunpowder.
Yeah, it's so silly. There's also the argument that a lot of people make where they say that the Second Amendment says that you have to have be in a well-regulated militia to have weapons. I think Cenk Uygur actually has a massive argument where he said something like that. But you cannot. First of all, that is so I'm sorry. I find the arguments against the Second Amendment freaking hilarious because. Dude, how do you get a militia? A militia is not government sanctioned. It's not. Yeah. It's of the people. How do the people get the freaking guns, brother? And the militia defends themselves against foreign and domestic threats. How are they supposed to defend themselves against a tyrannical government if the government is the one who's issuing the weapons? You think the government's going to declare war on America and then be like, here, militia, here's your military weaponry to defend yourselves against us? Are you kidding me? Come on, brother. It just bothers me so much. Massive power play. Here's some jets and some tanks and some guns. Here you go, guys. It's so freaking ridiculous. It's so illogical. It's like you didn't even think about it. First of all, the punctuation in the freaking Second Amendment makes that absolutely clear. Dude, I'm sorry. The Second Amendment arguments. This is why I get called right wing. This amendment alone is what gets me called that.
I think we should bring militias back. I think our streets would be safer. I think so many people, if you just had people who were militia sanctioned, it's weird to say sanctioned, but people who are in a militia walking the streets for the protection of not just the state against the government, but protection of people from each other.
That's how a lot of gangs started, man. That's a lot of...
Well, yes. But, I mean, okay, I guess you have that in Mexico, technically. They have a well-regulated gang militia, and if you don't pay them, then you don't get protected.
A lot of gangs started protecting neighborhoods. That's so...
Yeah.
I think a militia needs to be formed in response to a threat. I think that's how it has to stay.
I mean, I think there's a way to manage that the militia has to be within the protection of the people and cannot extort the citizens around. Because, I mean, we have that with police. Police cannot extort its citizens in order to push their way through
well regulated.
policies.
Not in response to what you're saying, but I should also say that's well regulated didn't mean the government regulated the militia. It meant well trained. Just want to put that out there, that they should be trained.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Personally, I think you're right to bear arms. The president of the NRA, I can't remember what year it was anymore. I think he was for some gun control back in the 20s, 30s. Post-Prohibition, the president of the NRA was actually for certain controls to owning guns.
Yeah, it's because of the automatic weapons that were used during the Prohibition against the police. Yeah, that's what was going on with that.
Was background checks, identity when purchasing guns, things that we have to date to make sure that people who are buying guns are law-abiding citizens. He did not want to infringe the rights of law-abiding citizens. He only wanted to keep people who would use these weapons for crime or unjustly from keeping these weapons. And then the NRA on what is it, the Cincinnati Massacre took over the NRA, and that's where we get some of our more complete liberty focused people who want guns with no inhibitions.
Yeah, I don't agree with removing background checks. But so here's the problem. If we want to talk about gun control, we should talk about how the left approaches it, specifically the politicians, and how they have manipulated the populace of the left to not... The populace of the left fundamentally misunderstand the current state of gun regulation in this country. They think that you can obtain fully automatic assault rifles, which technically you can, but they are prohibitively expensive. You're talking tens of thousands of dollars plus licensing that costs thousands of dollars, and you have to go through extensive checking to get them, and they are not manufactured anymore. That's why they're so expensive. We've banned fully automatic rifles a long time ago. So there's this...
And I apologize. It is the revolt at Cincinnati that had taken place when the NRA was taken over for the current position of gun control being kind of more loosened up.
Okay. So the reason why I bring this up is in response to him talking about the people who are full liberty on the Second Amendment. I don't think that putting restrictions into it to make sure that law-abiding citizens are the only ones with weapons is infringing on the Second Amendment. I do think banning fully automatic rifles is infringing on the Second Amendment. I understand why they were banned at the time they were. I think that needs to be removed. But anyway, back to what my main topic that I was talking about was how the left misunderstands the Second Amendment, and it's intentional by the Democrat politicians who inform them and the Democrat media that informs them. They use that language to scare you, and they make it seem like you can just walk in and get a gun. You can't. You cannot just walk in and get a gun. You have to go through a background check. You have to have valid forms of identification. You can't just get a gun at any old store without any of these things. These things they're in place. Now, there are failures where, like, the FBI is monitoring someone because they feel that they are a threat, et cetera, that get missed and sometimes are not included, and someone who shouldn't have a weapon obtains a weapon. What we need, instead of like red flag laws, which is something that I really don't like, because red flag laws can be used in really predatory ways, where let's say you are a woman who just got out of a very abusive relationship. Your former partner would be able to call the police department, trigger a red flag law on you, red flag law on you, and then they come and remove your weapons for a period of time until their investigation is done, and now you are a potential victim of your abusive ex. Now that goes the same way towards men as well. Someone could do the same thing to you. Your neighbor who doesn't like you could do it. Anybody who wants to hurt you. And usually it's a collective of people. They have to get multiple people involved. That's how some places justify red flag laws is because they say that, well, it's like a coalition. Like it has to be a certain amount of people, like 6 people, 7 people that do it. But someone's going to be able to get 6 or 7 people together to do that very easily. It wouldn't be very difficult, or they could fake it. So that we've seen it be extorted in other places. That way it's dangerous. So red flag laws are not the solution. The proper solution is to strengthen our existing laws for background checks to make them more thorough and not exclude certain information that the FBI withholds for privacy reasons. Like, I think there was that shooter in Florida some years back that, and this happened like 3 times in a row, but the FBI was monitoring them and they did not report it to the background check, and this kid obtained a gun legally and then committed a crime. That kind of stuff has to stop. We do have the tools already to stop this. Everything that you think when you think about the Second Amendment that you want, we already have in place. For example, I've bought it. A lot of people speak about I'm monologuing here. I'm sorry, Ryan, but the Second Amendment is what I'm like most passionate about.
You're fine. Yeah.
The gun show loophole doesn't exist. A lot of people talk about it, but there's so much liability when you go to a gun show. Like, do you technically have to get a background check at a gun show? No, but you will never get a gun at a gun show without a background check, because the person that you're buying it from has such a massive liability for not doing it, because they are technically supposed to do it. When you transfer a firearm, even as a gift, you're supposed to file that through your state, the transfer of the firearm. So the person who would sell that to a criminal, it's coming back to them, and they will get in deep shit. Deep shit. So you will never go to a gun show, purchase a firearm, and there not be a background check. I have purchased, personally, firearms at gun shows, and I have never not had a background check. I don't know if you've purchased firearms, Ryan. Have you gone through the process at all?
So many.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
No, I don't, actually. Personally, I'm not a gun owner. I don't care if you do own guns. I hope you do own guns. If someone breaks into my house, my weaponry is some pretty fancy swords and knives. So if you break into my house, you're going to pray I had a gun to make it quick. I'm going to be taking the slow Skyrim road.
Okay. Brutal, dog. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're coming in my home, I am defending myself. Yeah. It ain't going to be a gun, but it is going to be some metal.
Well, in that case, then I guess I'll speak as the gun owner here. The background check is already in place. We already have it. The only thing that we could do is strengthen it and make sure that all information is included, so that we don't have these mishaps.
I do think there is something further we could do, but it has nothing to do with gun control.
For it.
It is extending some form of healthcare, specifically mental health. We find a majority of these individuals who have guns have obtained them illegally by any means. It doesn't matter if there's a background check or not. Yeah. They got it from someone else. They've had it from
most of them steal
found it at a friend's house. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's obviously going to be that. A lot of violent crimes with firearm is someone who was never supposed to own a gun. Criminals, people who have been prior prosecuted, cannot own weapons.
Yes.
I have an old friend of mine who actually got arrested for possession, who to this day not only cannot own a firearm but cannot vote. So just so you know, if you are a criminal, you aren't supposed to have a firearm at all. So when you hear these repeat offenders getting guns, they aren't by law allowed to have a gun in the first place, and yet they still do. It's not gun control that's the problem. They're going to get it by any means. It's reformation of the criminal process.
So those people don't get out.
And mental health, because a lot of these, especially these mass shootings that we keep getting into, are a result of people who have mental health issues, either by some form of discriminatory or predatory practice, bullying, namely, or through just a societal confusion of who they are. And we're getting a lot more of that lately. I know we've already kind of talked about the trans issue a little bit and the gay issue, quoting on that one. The trans and gay perspective, we've already kind of discussed that, but there is a lot of individuals who have mental issues who end up with deciding the only thing left they have to do is to see how many they can take with them. And it's unfortunate. I think we need to maybe expand the welfare for mental health a little bit more, or expand the availability of those individuals a lot more.
How do you address the conversation? Again, guys, I know we're probably going to get some pushback on this, like the free speech thing. I'm just positioning a question right now. What do you think of the argument that's going to be made against us when we say that we need to improve mental health facilities, add more mental health facilities? You know that because you're right wing, I'm left wing, so I'm going to say I outright support more federal tax dollars going to these programs to expand them. Let's ask the right wing person here, who typically will get this exact same question. A lot of people on the left would say to you, Ryan, the Republican here, you are for fiscal responsibility and you want to cut the budget. How do you reconcile your position of expanding mental health care facilities and mental health programs while also cutting the budget?
All right. First and foremost, I think if the government is spending money on colleges, we should decide a little bit on where that money is going. That's an actual left-wing opinion, not a right-wing opinion. The right-wing opinion would be stop sending money to the colleges. But if we're going to be sending money to colleges, I think we should decide what is best for that moment to try to get it done. We need more judges for immigration. We should probably put a little bit more into the political science degrees of the schools and tell them, hey, you can't put your money into gender studies. You can't give loans to gender studies anymore because we don't need gender studies students. Also, the ROI on that is horrid. Well, so don't give it to them.
And can I ask you a question about that? Why do you not want, other than the ROI you were talking about, why don't you want gender studies in school? Because I'm going to tell you right now that I also oppose it. From my social libertarian perspective, but I oppose it for probably different reasons than you. I oppose it because I believe, if I remember correctly, because I think I read an article about this, that the social studies, like the social thing, the social aspects, the social degrees are the majority of graduates right now. I always like to fact check myself. I think it's a good way to hold ourselves accountable wherever we're not entirely positive of something that we say. Otherwise, that's what you guys are here for. But I was unsure about the numbers that I was citing here at this point, so I want to just, like I said, fact check myself. And these numbers are from 2021 to 2022. They don't have 23, 24, or 25 yet, unfortunately. And I think what I was referencing was that these numbers had increased in the most recent years. I think I saw some preliminary stuff somewhere. I'm not entirely positive, so don't quote me on that either. But either way, the sociology degrees are in third place in the most common fields of study and graduation in the United States for our college systems, which I think is a massive problem. And I kind of would even toss in the health professions and related programs number 2 slot there in with these as well, because I know the health professions aren't super associated, but the related programs kind of, I know that they do dip more into the sociologies. So I want to point out the number 2 and number 3 spots are the things we're concerned about here. And I do think still that we need to incentivize people to be pursuing more in the STEM fields. It's great to see that engineering is number 4. Biological and biomedical sciences are number 5. I don't like seeing psychology at number 6. I kind of wish that was a little higher up there with the health professions. I think that would be a lot better for us. And I also would like to see the computer and information sciences much higher. That's really unfortunate. I think I say in this podcast that I think we should incentivize more STEM fields, more medical research degrees, and more medical field degrees by removing interest on the loans, which I think is definitely what we should do. But we also need to address how colleges adjust their tuition based on guaranteed incomes from these school loans, and make it so they can't be so predatory with their loans and just rack up debt on students like they do. Anyway, guys, I guess I just want to fact check myself real quick. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. We had a lot of fun talking about it. We kind of get a little bit derailed, but you know what? We're here for it. We're still new at this. So anyway, I'll get out of your hair. Enjoy the rest of the podcast, you guys. Thank you. And I don't like that. I think we need more STEM and productive fields. So I'm kind of wondering where you land on that.
No, I think gender studies are entirely ridiculous. I think man is man, woman is woman. Sure, sociologies.
Well, I was trying to think of the word. I was saying the wrong word, and I remembered it was sociologies.
I think instead of worrying about what gender someone is or gender role and positions anyone is in, scrap that. Let people be who they kind of want to be, which is kind of a slightly hot take. Stop affirming people. Plain and simple. Affirmation does not let people be who they want to be. Affirmation lets them be what they thought they are. If you want to be trans and everyone tells you that's okay, you are going to be trans. But you are going to be sad and confused because you're not actually trans. Maybe you're tomboy. Maybe you're slightly off center for the gender you are born with. But you automatically assume that because you like certain aspects of the other gender that you want to fall into it. And if you're affirmed, you're going all the way.
I was just going to contend with your point there, but I think I realized what you're making the point of there. You're talking about not affirming people because of the social contagion aspect of the trans movement currently, right? You're worried about people that aren't actually trans falling into that trap of being trans because of it is the thing that's taught. There is a social contagion aspect to it. Like that's what you're referencing, right?
Affirmation is the worst thing you can do, because sitting there and saying, yes, it's okay for you to think the way you do only leads you to continue thinking about it. What actually is healthy is to sit there and ask compassionate questions. Ask a compassionate question. Why do you think you're this? What makes you think, if you are biologically male and think you're a woman, what do you think a woman is? And actually have them answer that question. If they are not able to answer that question, they haven't thought about it hard enough. Because if you are actually trans, you are going to say, I think a woman is this, and that's why. Perfect. You have an idea in your head. You actually have an idea, an obtainable thing to reach for, and you are going to, as you reach those goals, you are going to be happy because you have the goal set up. But if you are affirmed, and everything you believe in that moment is given to you, when you get older or reach a certain point and realize you're still unhappy, you have no idea why, because everyone's told you you're exactly right, but you've never reached that level of happiness because you never thought about it.
So I got a question
stop
for you.
Affirming and start asking compassionate questions, because I'm sorry to say, if everyone was transgender, if every one of these people who come out as gay or transgender was being honest, we would see across the board the same thing. But what we're seeing is young white women as a majority of these statistics.
Yeah. Women are the most likely to fall victim to social contagion. So I want to ask you a question here. You're talking a lot about the mental health aspect of homosexuality, transgenderism, and things like that. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you. I never
actually answered the last question either. So okay,
well, I'm gonna.
It was a partial tangent, so we'll circle back.
We'll circle back to it because we need to get back to the Second Amendment too. But on the trans issue, I do kind of want to explore your thought process on this a little bit because you're talking so much about mental health in that aspect. Do you think that there are people that are trans?
Yes, but not as many as society wants you to believe.
I am also in that same boat. I think that there are people that are trans, but the majority of what we're seeing today is a social contagion.
I think it's people who are depressed and confused because they're told that women is one thing, men are another, and it's not a nice little box. No. In the 80s and early 2000s, my sister was one of them. She was the tomboy was a thing. You could be a girl who wanted to have a short haircut. We call them, you know what, I don't think I can actually say that on YouTube, but a flannel wearing lesbian. Oh. We're going to go with that, which is kind of what my sister is. It's totally fine. But she was a tomboy growing up, and there was no problem with that. And with my mom, she was also a tomboy. She wanted to go out, run through the field, go on the farm, and do actual chores. And there was no issue with that. She was on all the sports teams. There was no issue with being a masculine, not even masculine presenting, but a outgoing, physically active woman. Who kind of wanted to do what the guys did. There was no reason to think anything of it. And now all of a sudden it's, you're acting you don't want to play with dolls and you're a girl, you want to play with cars, or vice versa, boys with dolls and not cars. You must think that you are the other gender. Is that true? And that's a leading question that a lot of people ask, and kids don't know how to answer that properly. So they're like, yeah. And then you affirm them into thinking.
Isn't it crazy, Ryan, that the people that are arguing about not stereotyping people inside of a gender are stereotyping people inside of a gender because they like things that are typically associated with the other gender and telling them that they belong to that other gender?
Well, even if they don't, the problem is affirmation is a cancer. If you say, I think this is Stockholm or not Stockholm, Munchausen's. Give them like a Munchausen's. You tell them something's wrong with them, so they believe it.
Yeah.
So if you sit there and you look at your 3-year-old who is now developing any form of hobbies, and you're like, all right, we're going to go to the toy store, you pick what you want, and they're 3. They're going to pick any toy they think is good. So they pick up a Barbie, and you're like, oh, we're going to stick in this aisle now because he clearly likes the girls' toys. And then, oh, do you want to buy dresses? Do you want to do your hair, grow it out? And you're asking leading questions to a child who couldn't tell you what he wanted to wear that morning. You picked his clothes out for him, and you're asking him leading questions. Don't ask leading questions. You are the parent. You make his decisions. I'm sorry to say this is a very weird opinion, but until a child is 18, you as a parent own that child. It is weird to say, but they do not have the authority to make decisions for themselves until they are 18 unless they become emancipated. You are responsible for that child, and you need to take responsibility for them. Yep. They are your property until they are 18 and able to move out on their own.
So let's circle back. Let's get back to the Second Amendment here. My first question was, how do you reconcile being a conservative who is economically conservative and expanding the budget to support more mental health programs and facilities?
Right. I don't think you need to expand it. I think we just need to decide better where our taxpayer dollars are going. I would say we cut funding to these schools with gender studies and instead put them into proper therapy techniques that, the Department of Health can kind of run different studies to kind of figure out the proper approach to not affirm, but compassionately ask, why do you feel this way? How do we lead you into finding out who you are, whether that's transgender or confused? And it's okay to be confused. A lot of people are confused. That would be...
I don't want to portray all these people that are mentally ill doing these shootings as transgender, because that's not the case.
No, but I'm saying, like, it's not just with trans, but mental health in general with bullying. School mandatory reporting needs to be a lot better. A girl I used to date had some kids, and her oldest daughter was getting abused, and the school refused to do anything. And I gave her three choices, which I think as a parent, for me, a kind of a step parent for her, was she needs to tell the teacher. If the teacher doesn't do anything, she needs to tell the principal. If the principal doesn't do anything, she needs to tell me, so I would talk to the principal. And if all those don't work, I told her, go ahead and throw a punch at the kid. Because because I told her, if I have to show up at the school and tell them that she's being bullied after doing the other 2 steps, it's already gone on too long, and the next option is violence. And then we finally went into the school, and I looked at the guidance counselor, and I told her, like, I have given her permission to punch this kid if he bullies her and pushes her into a fence again. I have given her permission to defend herself. And the guidance counselor looked at me with big eyes like, oh my gosh, well, we understand she has the right to defense. I'm like, I don't think you do. She's too sweet of a girl. She's not gonna do it. I'm just telling you, I've given her permission. She won't be in trouble by me if she does.
Yeah, I had that same go-ahead from my family when I was in school. I was bullied, and harassed relentlessly. I literally had people try to stab me in my school. But
the thing is, you need your kids to understand at an early age that you as a parent have their back.
Yep.
Because
I was just going to say that.
That's the other thing.
I had.
A lot of these people who we're not going with trans, we're going with just severely bullied, Sandy Hook mentality, okay? They need to understand that they have people they can go to talk to regulate these issues before they become the only resort I have is video game violence.
Yeah. So my position is that we don't need to just take funding from those schools that are doing that. I think we need to massively expand the budget.
Well, I'm not saying take away. I'm not saying take away from schools who are allowing these practices. I'm saying the money that we are giving to Harvard for gender studies, the money we are giving to any of these universities for any student loan, we tell them, hey, we're going to give you $10 million in student loan money. I need you to get 200 people to be a doctor. I need you to get 200 people to be qualified as therapists, because we have a huge issue with therapy, and we need to kind of, in a way, manipulate the market so that there's enough people in therapy positions to, one, lower the cost, two, get healthcare to support mental health, and three, make it so you don't have to wait weeks on end.
So you're talking about incentivizing, not removing funding. You're talking about using that funding to further incentivize the fields that you want to see an expansion in for professions.
Correct, but we do need to be very careful about that, because obviously there is a point where you can manipulate it to these gender studies, to this DEI program, as we've seen on the left. So you do need to be very careful about what we are funding toward. I would say we definitely need it to be like a more, if you can get 75% of the Senate and House to agree upon it, you can push it. But if you can't, it's dead in the water and it's done.
So what I was going to say is I think that we need to expand the budget for mental health facilities and mental health workers across the country. We need to reopen asylums, and some of these people that are extremely mentally ill, not just these people that are suspected for school mass shootings and things like that, but a lot of the homeless people, I think, need to be locked against their will into asylums and stuff like that until they've gone through therapy and become self-sufficient.
My issue with the asylum is, and I'm sure you're kind of aware of this, any medical field is already currently understaffed for the support workers they need. Nurses, CNAs, they're already understaffed for that. And then you want to put these thinly stretched people into the worst of situations where they're dealing with people who are often violent due to just their brains acting the way they normally do. And I'm not saying everyone who's got mental issues is going to be inherently violent.
I got to push back on you right now, Ryan. We can't not do anything because there's a shortage. I agree with what you're saying with doing that in schools. I think we should incentivize people to pursue the STEM fields, doctors, therapists, and stuff like that. But you cannot just do that and not also expand the budget to have these asylums to hold the people. It has to be a two-pronged approach.
I'm not saying I'm opposed to the asylums either. I'm saying we have a bigger issue first, which is staffing. We've had an issue with staffing since COVID. And if we open all these asylums, all we're going to do is have more issues with the asylums that we had when we went to close them down, was poor staffing, poor training. We need to get the training figured out.
And they were experimenting on people. We got to make sure that the asylums are humane. We can't be allowing that kind of crap.
So we need to make sure that we're doing it right. And I think opening the asylums first is not right. I think we need to get staffing figured out first. And I think a good way to figure out staffing is to incentivize these colleges to provide loan. Sorry, I've been drinking pop and it's making me very burpy. We need to incentivize these colleges to provide degrees for nurses, CNAs, and doctors who are going to be overseeing these people, and they need to have specific training for special needs individuals, like we have teachers for that exact reason.
Well, I think the best way to approach that then would be to offer students no interest loans to go into those fields.
You know, I don't necessarily oppose that. I think a no interest loan is interesting. I think we need to disincentivize college in the first place, not for the people, but for the colleges itself. What?
How do you solve the problem of getting further education to get doctors if you're disincentivizing college?
We need to disincentivize colleges from increasing the price because they're getting supplemented.
Yep.
Because if we're throwing $10 million into Harvard, well, they're going to just charge more money.
Yep.
That's capitalism 101. They're wanting as much money as they can possibly get.
I had this conversation with a lefty friend of mine, Ryan. You're barking up a tree that so many people are unaware of. You're making me so happy right now. I had this exact conversation. Any business, if you tell me that I'm going to get 80% of this tuition guaranteed in cash, I'm going to raise that price as high as I reasonably can before the government starts looking into me to get as much money as I possibly can. That's exactly why the tuitions have skyrocketed. That's part of it. I'll say that's most of the reason why. Who wouldn't do that?
So we go from our parents who had a tuition of, I think they probably left college with $20,000 in debt for their degrees, if that. And then you look at you and I, who, if we go to college, would be looking at $30,000 without room and board per semester. Yeah. So $100,000 in debt off the bat, no job, crappy jobs, because that's what everyone wants to go for, is these gender studies that have zero ROI. And there's an exact reason why I dropped out of college and just went directly into trades. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've moved up the chain basically to management at this point. And I can tell you right now, I am making more or equal to most of the people I went to high school with, but I had zero debt by the time I was 21. And they're paying it off like now.
So in your 30s, rough. So anyway, back to the Second Amendment here. Back to the Second Amendment. So incentivizing schools to get more people into the STEM fields, removing any incentive for sociologies is your solution. That's how you're reconciling it. So moving past the mental...
It's specific sociologies, because I'm going to be perfectly honest. Gender study in general is a horrible part of sociology.
What about feminist dance theory, though? I think we can't get rid of that. We need feminist dance theory.
Oh, you're right. I don't even know what that is. I should look into it.
We can't get rid of that.
I could probably learn a lot. But my point being, like, I like sociology. I took sociology when I was in college. I fell asleep every day in class, and I walked out with an A. That was a waste of my money. I already knew all of it. I fell asleep in one class. I started dreaming about what he was talking about. And then I went home, and I'm like, cool, I had a dream about what the teacher was saying. I passed the class with an A, went to psychology, and my high school psychology class was harder than the college course. So it's like, why am I taking these courses? I'm wasting my time. I'm not learning anything. I learned it in high school.
Sure.
And I had to take those because I was going for business, and for I think that was actually for the business course. I was also going for archaeology, not archaeology. Wow, architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to build buildings out of bones.
Brutal.
It's metal.
So okay. That's how you're reconciling your position. My position would be kind of a mixture of that, and mostly. Also, I wouldn't be opposed to increasing taxes to do it. Although I understand the economically fiscal responsible side of me understands the government already spends like 2/3 of their income on entitlements. So we're kind of in a tough situation there. And I also personally don't want my taxes to go up, but I also don't want the rich to be unfairly taxed and then not pay me as much or pass the cost off in my goods. So this is why I'm politically homeless.
We go to a flat income tax. We do across the board. No, sorry, not income tax. Sales tax. Go to sales tax. 13% all sales. Everything you buy gets 13% plus whatever your state tax is, and your paycheck. Everything you work is directly given to you, and the only taxes that are collected are what you spend. Sales tax only.
Yeah.
It's probably more than 13, because I think right now I'm paying 33 between state and federal combined.
The rich would just they would get away with paying almost nothing, dude. They get everything they get given is free. Everything they have is free.
But if you put tax on everything,
Yeah,
if you buy something and put tax on it,
yeah, but
how
the
are
rich
you
aren't
avoiding
buying
that
things.
tax?
The rich aren't buying things.
Well, no. Well, they're buying everything we're buying, plus the house.
No, they're not. They're like, dude, I know some rich people, like very wealthy people, and
are they buying food?
Barely,
do they
dude.
pay for the lights?
Do
they have clothes?
Dude, they get their clothes are gifted to them. Their cars are gifted to them. Their
Wait a minute. But do they have to pay the gift tax for that gift?
I have
well, the person who when they receive that gift.
I know is that the corporations are giving them all this stuff for free. I have one buddy who
federally you have to pay taxes on any gift over $10,000.
I have a buddy who's never paid for a meal since he was 18 years old because he is semi-famous and wealthy, and he goes to restaurants, they know who he is, and they feed him for free. He hasn't paid for a meal since he was 18 or 19 years old, dude. The rich people.
I want to make it to that level. If you're watching this, blow this video up until I become as big as this guy.
Like, rich people, dude, like, they don't pay for it. And then I know rich people who aren't in that situation, but they charitably fund, like, let's say, a golf course, and that golf course has a restaurant, and they eat for free in the restaurant. They have all these amenities.
There's an argument for that, too. If you start taxing the rich, the charity goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the point is I'm saying is I don't think a flat tax like that or like a sales tax would work because the rich would be almost entirely excluded, except for some small items that they buy themselves, like cars. But a lot of times they get gifted cars too. Like my buddy, he's bought one car.
Blow this channel up, guys.
Like, yeah, the rich.
Get this channel big. I want to get gifts. My dream car is the 1962 Batmobile. So if I can get a gift of one of those, that'd be great. I would like the original Ghostbusters van. That'd be a nice gift.
But we do need the income tax because of that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
Well, no, because if it's gifted to them, if there's income tax, they're not paying taxes on it on a gift anyway. They're getting gift taxed.
Yes, but their income that they do make because they are wealthy is going to be taxed. So at least we're getting something out of them.
So if their income only comes from, let's say, stock, though, or philanthropy, everything they're doing when they're buying things is going to be opening up a loan against their accounts, and then they pay that account off based off the interest of their loans or of their stock. So the money doesn't go anywhere. They're paying everything off based off of how their return on interest is going to be anyway.
I understand
and
that.
So,
I get what you're saying. But
so they never pay taxes on that. That's how they're avoiding that, is they're doing low interest loans.
I know.
And paying it off of their interest being accrued onto their stocks. So they're not getting taxed on that at all. That's why everyone's complaining that they're not paying their taxes, because they're not taking the money out. They're just opening a loan against it.
I know. Like Elon Musk doesn't have billions of dollars. He takes out loans to live. I know that. I know.
Right. So that's the thing. If you have to open a loan to buy something, I understand that a lot of things are getting gifted to them. They're supposed to be paying taxes on what they're gifted. If they're not, good for them. I wish I could do the same. But if you have to buy something and you're getting taxed 23% federally and whatever your sales tax is going to be.
Ryan, there's a solution to this that doesn't involve sales taxing everybody, because I live in a state without a sales tax. I don't want it. How about we just make it to where these billionaire CEOs cannot take out loans against their net worth from their company's value and live off of that, and instead they have to either liquidate their asset in their company or take a salary from their company so they cannot get beyond the taxes anymore.
My question for you is, what is the incentive of business owners to create more jobs if they are being limited on the amount of money they can make?
They are being limited on the amount of money they can make. How are they being limited?
If they're forced to take a salary?
if they take a salary from their business and that salary is affecting the productivity of their business, that would incentivize them to make that business more profitable, so they have more money to create, to build their company, to make more money. That is their incentive. You are adding an incentive. What is the incentive right now for them? They're just taking out loans against the value.
The incentive right now is for each new area they build, it hypothetically brings another 10% increase on top of what they're already making. So if I have a $2 million business operating and I open a new store, ideally my return on investment would be my yearly increasing to $2,200,000.
Can I ask a
so I get
clarifying
200,000 more. So you would exponentially increase for each job building you open, and you create more business within that community for other people to make more money.
Why would that stop if you tell a CEO or you tell Elon Musk that he can't take out a loan from a bank against the value of his company to survive off of, to live off of? Why telling him that he has to live off a salary from his company? Why would that dissuade him from opening more businesses, from growing his company? I don't understand.
Does he make more when he opens this new location?
I don't know how the salary would be structured. I don't know.
Right.
But how would he make...
that's just it, though, because it's a calculated risk to open up a new building. And so if you're opening one up...
It doesn't change.
No, it absolutely changes. If you open a new building, there's a good chance it could just be in the wrong place and completely fail.
Yeah, but that could happen whether or not he's taking a loan out against the value of his company or not.
But here's the thing. If he's not making more money, why would he even bother? If he's doing well enough in one area and he's not guaranteed to make more money, why would you ever bother with opening a new location?
Why would he do that if he's living off of a loan?
Oh, you mean the stocks?
If he is going to a bank and saying, my company is valued at $500 billion, I need $2 million to make it through the year, give me a low interest loan against the value of my company that I live off of as my income, how does that change anything? Like, why would he be more or less incentivized to do that, whether or not he's getting the $2 million from his company or the bank?
With stocks, his stocks are going to go up even higher in value if he actually incentivizes himself to open more locations, produce more product, and have more sales across the entire country, as well as be more in... Yeah.
Ryan, there's the same thing if he's taking the salary from this business as it is from the bank, because in order for him to be able to take a salary from his business, he has to make money. The more money he makes, the more money he can take as a salary. The more money he makes, the more money he can take out as a loan. It's a circular argument. It's the exact same outcome.
It would be. I mean, I guess it just kind of depends. I don't have enough money to defend either side at this point.
Like, as somebody who deals with...
So I say as someone who wants free market, I say if you are going to own a business, capitalism is going to make more jobs than any other form of government.
This is capitalism.
Why? That's what I said.
Yeah, I'm saying that I'm not arguing for any other form.
Okay. So I'm saying, why would we want to disincentivize the rich from making more money and opening up more locations? I feel like it would. I feel like if you say you have to liquidate your assets and take a salary, you are going to disincentivize people from wanting to build.
So I see the misunderstanding. This is what I was trying to understand. You are conflating them taking a salary with liquidating their stock. I was asking you the question of, they should have to liquidate their assets in stock or take a salary from the company. Two separate things, not one. Their liquidation of assets, I'm not saying is their salary. I'm saying they should have to do that or take a salary from the profits of their business. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Not that they should be forced to do only liquidate their assets.
I think either way, I think it's important that while I understand that a lot of people are going to argue that the rich don't pay their fair share, they're still paying a vast majority of taxes.
They are, for sure.
Exactly. And I feel like we need to incentivize our business people to create more businesses, and especially more diverse amount of jobs.
But they don't pay it through an income tax. They pay it through a corporate tax.
Right.
The rich are not paying most of our taxes. The corporations are paying most of our taxes. The rich are not.
Which is fine. I mean, as long as they're paying, well, they're still paying a heavy portion.
21%.
13% to them is a vast amount more than a majority of us at 23%.
But we just discussed how most rich people are not taking a salary, so they're not paying an income tax. The corporations that they have are paying a corporate tax, and that's how they're contributing to the economy.
A lot of them are paying their taxes when everything gets taken out. They're still paying a shit ton in taxes every year.
Yes, they are.
Even if they're not paying as much as they probably could, they're paying a shit ton. Like, Elon Musk has paid more in taxes than you and I have in the last 5 years.
But you know why he did that? He did that to make a point, though. He liquidated assets on purpose to be victim to
the same with Trump, same with the Clintons, same with AOC, Gavin Newsom. They have all paid more taxes. Now, I will say a lot of them are dodging their taxes too, but they have paid more in taxes than your average American ever will.
Hold on, Ryan. We're getting off the track here. This isn't about quantity. Like, they make $5 billion, so they're paying, $1 billion or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about these people are dodging paying an income tax because they are living off of loans against the value of their assets. So they are living a lavish lifestyle without paying any taxes for it. They're only paying their corporate tax rate. That's what people have a problem with. They are living off of an income that doesn't exist. They're living off an ethereal idea. Elon Musk doesn't have $500 billion, but he's getting to live a life as though he does because he's not liquidating any of his assets, and he'll never live long enough to see those loans come due where he has to pay them off of his assets. That's what people are talking about. That's the wealth disparity that's causing a problem. We're way off the Second Amendment here, but I'm trying to make the point that just because the corporation is paying billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, most rich people, or the ultra wealthy, because I don't want to say like the rich person who has like a couple $1 million, they're paying a lot of taxes. The ultra wealthy though, like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, they are paying zero. They're paying zero other than their corporate tax rate. They don't make an income. So like that's why people have a problem. That's what I'm trying to discuss with you is we should close that loophole where they get to live off of a loan and they have to pay a salary. So they pay their taxes on their salary like everyone who works for them does.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're trying to say. I also didn't research enough for this today, so it's also getting to a point tonight where I would say I have to work tomorrow.
Okay. Do you want to end the podcast here? Do you not want to discuss the Second Amendment anymore? Okay. Guys.
The thing is, we kind of agree on the Second Amendment is like, hey, we want to make sure that people who are unfit to have guns do not get guns, but they get treated in a way that they don't feel like hurting themselves or others, as well as making sure that the government doesn't take away our right to own guns, so that way we can protect ourselves from when we actually do have fascists and dictators trying to take over this country.
You know what's crazy, Ryan, that I'm thinking about right now? I just got into this argument with you about taxes and about the ultra wealthy avoiding taxes. All those fucking people that threatened me and talked all that shit, they're going to see that clip of me doing that. They're going to be like, this fucking guy's the smartest. He knows exactly what he's talking about. Right on, brother. Like, it's so bad.
I can't wait to see the flip. Oh, this right-wing fascist. Oh yeah, he's down the system. All right. And then I'm going to be the fascist.
Yeah, dude, they're totally gonna flip like that. I'm politically homeless, and this is exactly why. I was just a second ago going, Second Amendment, fully automatic weapons, and I'm going, hold on a minute here. This wealth disparity is a major problem, and you're trying to obfuscate the actual problem that's happening here. Like,
I think a lot of it was my misunderstanding of what you had said also. No, I don't know. I want less taxes spent, and I think the taxes that are collected are off what the people should buy. If you're not buying, you're not giving taxes. If you're not giving taxes, the government has nothing they can do.
I guess they are paying taxes on property taxes too, actually. They can't escape a property tax. And that's what actually they do with devaluation.
That's kind of the point, though, is that if you're not spending, you're not contributing. And that's how it should be, because your representation comes from you actually participating in society. If you're not spending money, you're not participating, and that's okay. Sometimes you should save, but you shouldn't be required to work a job and have part of your paycheck ripped away from you before you even get to see it.
I agree with that. But yeah, I just want to say, like, they actually probably escape paying property taxes, though, by saying that their property is depreciated.
Well, I mean, there's the whole Trump going to court because he did that when he went to sell his building. You technically can't do that.
I don't know enough about the property tax depreciation thing. I just know that because I'm selling a house right now, and I can claim depreciation on it. And I can't. I don't want to speak too much to it. I don't know enough about it, but yeah. I think there's a loophole they get out of paying for property taxes. They're paying substantially less than they should. Well,
so like that is definitely the whole thing with the Trump thing. When he went to sell, he actually overestimated his property for selling purposes, and there was a third party coming in to actually account for how much the property would actually be, and they took that as fraud, which every seller in New York does the same thing. But they took Trump to court for it because it was a manhunt. We can get into more conversations like that later, but the 34 felonies all started because of something that everyone in New York did and almost completely crashed the real estate market in New York.
Well, guys, that was the Second Amendment economy.
Plus. A Second Amendment plus.
I appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with us. I know we spent a little bit too long on the comments. We'll try to rein that in next time where we don't spend an hour and 40 minutes talking about the comment section. But I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast.
Let's break it in half. We'll do two sides. We'll do a comment section upload, and then we'll do this upload.
Sure, I could do that. Oh, shoot. Well, I got to cut that whole thing out. Guys, this was Censored Society number 2. I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching this podcast. We got kind of derailed from talking about the Second Amendment and kind of got into like the transgender issue and economics and taxes and stuff like that. But that's how these ADHD brains work, man. I hope you guys are enjoying this, though. We're having a blast making these videos. We will catch you guys in the next Censored Society next week. See you guys then. Bye.